Hey folks, how are you doing? Let me just do the usual check to see if audio is working. Okay, it's working. So, the last stream was some weeks ago. I don't even remember all the things that we were doing. I just remember we were playing around with results, some result types, to avoid using exceptions too much, because we were throwing exceptions for all the little business errors, and it's not really the best idea. So we started playing around with a result type that is over here, with a bunch of result types, error, success, and it's a bit inspired by some functional programming ideas, although I'm not really a functional programmer, but I've been toying with some of the ideas and trying to use them in C# in ways that make sense, because if we go full functional in C#, the code probably gets a little bit weird, because C# is not primarily a functional language. But there are some things that we can bring in and work well, and these results probably will. But I've also played around with Kotlin a bit, and while doing some changes there and investigating, I came across, I already knew, but reanalyzed something in functional programming that's the either type, which is like a union between two objects. So we either get a result or another. Let me see if I can open here. Okay, Haskell will probably be a bit too much. Yeah, but the base idea is we have an object that contains either one thing or another. And normally they refer to as left and right. If I'm not mistaken, the left is the error and the right is the success. It's not mandatory, but it's, as it says here, it's like convention. So I was thinking, because I tried it in Kotlin and it worked well, so I was thinking of using the same thing, because it would simplify a bit what we want to do here, because a lot of the complexity we have in this error type and the extensions that come with it is due to to having to handle the type of the success object even in the errors, and the errors don't care about the success object. So I was thinking we introduce an either type. There's probably a library that already implements it, but instead of using a library, I will create it just for educational purposes. So I'll probably use it, but maybe the best idea would be to use something that's already built by someone that knows more than me. So yeah, we'll use an either type, and then we'll use the left to keep an error, and we will simplify this result to be just errors, so they don't need this generic part anymore. And on the right, we'll have the success. And that means that then the result extensions that we don't have a lot, but if we had, and we can build more, we can build these extensions for starters for the either, so simplify and can be reused in more projects. And then the error, in this case is kind of generic, because I just named it not found, invalid, unauthorized, and stuff like that. I could instead, the error could be more specific to the domain of the application. So either and the extensions will be generic, and we can use it in multiple applications, but the errors will be part of the domain. And to start with, it's in here in the shared folder inside the domain, but eventually we may be extracted to a NuGet package to share across the projects of this series. So that's the goal for today. Start to implement an either object. Let me check here, because I've been, as I said, I played around with it in Kotlin, so maybe we can use the same ideas. So let me see, shared either. So of course many things will be different because C# isn't Kotlin, but maybe some ideas we can use. So let's see. Let me put this in another desktop, just to be quicker to change. I'll create a new class either. So at the end of the day, this time I spent without the stream was good, because now I'll implement something better than those results I was implementing, and will improve the stream and the series that outputs from this. So either we have multiple ways to do this. We can do just one class that has both things, and then we, depending on what we have, we return one or the other. But I'll maybe go with the same approach I took here in Kotlin, where inside, this is a bit different because Kotlin has the concept of a sealed class that that has these ones. So it won't be exactly the same. So just for information, this ends up, makes us, instead of having to implement a visitor pattern as I did with the result, we can use this because by being a sealed class, it makes sure that when we switch and do pattern matching on it, we must check for all possible results. So it's a way to avoid the visitor, or better yet, this is the functional implementation. The visitor pattern is a trick to achieve the same goal. So I'll try the same thing and then we'll see. So private either, just for it to only be constructible by their right. This is private just for the only ones that can call it are the children. And now we do public sealed class left. Let's see. I'm pretty sure this won't work the first time because it's the left. And over here, the right doesn't matter. I'll start with object and we'll see how it goes. I'm pretty sure this will eventually result in an error. So what we need, public static there. This doesn't work because it's the same name. Public static class. So I'm going to create a static class to have helper methods to create left and right. I'm trying to do this the Kotlin way, but I'm pretty sure it will fail, so let's find out. So what's going on? How did I implement the optional stuff? It's different because you only have one type and the result. Yeah, that's the problem, because I always need to put the type in the base class. If I want to put it in the other, let's see. Do I need this? Let's see. So because I always, okay, this like this, it seems to work. if I do the helper for right, now this works. Is it enough? Let's find out. So let's simplify. Let's take a look at some use case that's already using a result. Or better yet, we'll end up with a lot of errors because I'm going to break all of this, but too bad. Don't need this. The error visitor. Success is no longer needed because we'll use the either. The error is already this one. It's assuming this. Probably make some changes eventually, but right now we no longer need this because that was the main thing I didn't like about the original solution, was because the errors, even though don't care about the type of what's inside, because there's nothing inside the error, it was just inside the success. We needed to do these kinds of tricks to transform the types. So instantiate a new error of a different type, even though there's nothing in there that matters. So by getting rid of the mix between success and result and error on the same type, we don't need these tricks anymore. This can go, this can go, this can go. Success no longer exists. What about this? Kill it. Now we can transform these helpers to use the either. Let me check. Success. Instead of returning this, we can return either error or t value. And in this one we could do either left error t value, in fact Right. Okay. So we keep the same result helpers, but right now they now return an either of an error or a value. Just for help stuff. And the other ones will be the same. Let's see. I'm not sure yet what will be the most helpful. So let's see. So right now this transforms into either left or the value. This will all be the same, but in this case, unauthorized, not found. Let's see. So let's go to the command. In this case, no longer results, either error or this. Okay, it's solved immediately because this success returns that. Nice. What about here? Let's see. Either error. Hello, Noon. You missed the part where I started to pick apart everything I did in the last stream to replace with a different way. I don't know if this is being very clear. So if you folks have some questions, feel free to interrupt, because I'm just pounding away at the code in the meantime. Cannot assign. Implicitly typed local variable. Really? Oh, okay. Because this needs to be this. It's surprisingly working fast. So if the result is now this changes to if the result is how is it called? No, this is wrong. So we must again transform the error is wrong. No, it's right. So we're transforming the error in, or better yet, because this is error unit and we need to return error update group blah blah, we need to create a new one with that. Maybe we can create some helper for this, although I'm not really sure. Yeah, it won't do anything because in Kotlin this is smaller, I think. Let me check how I did that. Main use cases. It's kind of different. But okay, we'll see. Maybe we'll change this. The thing is that I think, if I'm not mistaken, Kotlin can infer the type, these arguments, from being returned, but C# doesn't, so we need to provide this. But okay, first let's start by removing the errors, and then let's see if I don't forget this to do. But let me just create some, before I forget, either extensions. We'll get back there eventually. Let's see, so the domain project is cleaned up. So now we'll use either error or t-value, and we'll use some C#8. Let's see if I remember this. Result switch. I hope it's like this. I don't remember. #8 switch expression. Switch stuff. How do we do switch expression pattern matching? This is the same as usual. This is usual. Okay, that's what's missing. Left Okay. Now I paste this part. Error accept. Just comment this part. Just don't know if it's kind of clear what I'm trying to do here, but the difference is before the result encapsulated the success and the failure, and right now with the change to either, now the result is either error or the actual value. So we have other options, but what I'm trying to do is pattern match the left, which is the error, and then use the visitor that I had created. If it's a success, then we use the right, so pattern match right, and then we'll handle the success case. But right now I'm just trying to cannot resolve symbol. Oh, because it's error value. Let's fix this part before. Okay, so this is not needed here, will be needed here, so copy and comment, but getting back here, not found, invalid, what's missing, unauthorized. New unauthorized result. Oh, doesn't get a message. Wrong. Message. Okay. Now it is. We don't need a value mapper because error never has a value. No need for the value. And this is just for things. Okay. So now, if the result is success, now we can uncomment this part. Some static, and now result is unit, not, need an extra argument. So value mapper. Where did I? Let's use this local history, because I don't remember what was the value mapper. Oh, in this case it was just it. What don't you like? Result mapping visitor. Okay. So now we need a func of t that gets a t value and return the t model. What am I missing? It's probably the conversion as usual. So if I do this, it works. Okay. So in this case, we'll come up with a better name in a minute. Success. And we'll call map the result dot, in fact, success dot value, and the mapper is this. Does not handle all the possible cases. That's what's annoying. It does handle all the possible cases. Because if it's an either, it can only be left or right or null, but so it's all the types. Okay, so when it's an error, we use the visitor pattern to make sure we handle all types of errors. If it's success, we just map the thing. And now we just need to do the same thing for the situation in which we want to return something. So this should be basically the same. With this change the model. and we need this part. So trying to figure out what was missing. So in this case we don't want to map anything, so it's simple. In this case we want to map, so we need to add I start putting enters because it seems that I'm having a line too long, but then I remember that the line is too long because I have this with a lot of zoom for it to be visible on the stream, so the line is smaller than this, so I would need all these enters. What are you? Yeah, the model. This would be the model. Okay, finally. In fact, this line is too long. Okay, so this is not public, this is private. So now we handle so now the visitor pattern is only useful for errors. This part of the code didn't really clean up better, but so what's missing using this? Okay, so now instead of this we want either error if it's right. This is one reason, not the only, but one reason as to why we have the classes for left and right. It allows us to pattern match on left and right. We will also create some helpers methods, extension methods, to do something instead of pattern matching, but at least it allows us. So okay, so it's compiling. Fantastic. And a bunch of error or warnings because I activated non-nullable reference types, but then I'm ignoring them, so not very useful. The default, this is different. Yeah, true. Okay, so it's working. Now that we have, I'm assuming it's working. Maybe it's better to check. Yeah, it's better. Start the application, just in case, we never know. Let me go to the terminal so we can start the web frontend. Someone is singing outside. So what is the hopefully the database is in a good state. Apparently yes. Oops. Oh, it works. Awesome. Yes, it works. Okay, so I can stop this. It works. So we are back to the first status because it's all the same. But now, so now what the idea of using this hider and all of that was for us to create a bunch of extension methods to do some things more functionally, like a map, flat map, and all that stuff. So if I remember, there is a to-do in here. Yes. So the idea is, instead of doing this if, which is a bit ugly, it works, but it's ugly, would be to use a flat map and continue with stuff. Let me just check the code Kotlin, because I implemented exactly the same thing. I call it, I'm very tempted to just copy and paste, but it's probably more work. But the code should be similar to the optional stuff we have somewhere here, these kinds of things. But the difference is, instead of being for one thing, it's for two. But we'll just implement the basic stuff. I'll probably implement other things offline. So we want flat map. Let's copy just this code. Should be similar, hopefully. Let's call it, in fact I called it map for the optional, but probably should be called flat map, not sure. So we want to map the right, which is the success. The left is a bit meh because it's error. So left t left t left out is funny. In. So we get as an input t left, and I'm writing this stupid. We want to map the right, not the left. Left to right out. The thing is, I don't care about what comes in there, so it's a bit annoying. But maybe I'll improve that later. So we get in the T right out in. Sorry. So we get a t left, neither of t left, t right in, and output the same t left, either with the same t left and the t right out, because we just want to map the result. We don't care about the error. And right now we are really enforcing the convention of left is always an error, so we don't want to map it in this case. So mapper stuff, and call it result. So in this case, return result is either that so if the result is success, we want to return either of t left, t right out, that right, success, that value. Or wrong. Mapper. Why are you not liking? Class name. Ah, true. That's what I wanted. Otherwise, we want okay. That's why I had the other method in Kotlin. It's called t left in, t left out. I'm pretty sure I lost everyone on the stream. Such silence. If you lost me, interrupt me, please. Because otherwise I don't know what I'm not explaining right. And if needed, I can go back to the principle behind all of this insanity. Okay. So I want to map left when it's left. And don't ask me, I saw somewhere that they called it fold. This is functional stuff that it's not my primary specialty, so let's call it fold. But it's basically a map on both types. And this is wrong. The left in, the left out. So now when it's left, I want to call left. Otherwise, I want to call the right. So the easiest way is just do this. Yeah. Better. Return result switch C#8 all the things. If it's right, we want either what is wrong. This is wrong. And just for this to be happy, what exception do you usually throw when you get to the default of the switch? Invalid? I never remember, I always forget. I'm not really sure it's invalid, but nice. Should never happen. Either is always left or right. That's what annoys me. Hey, Goku Craft. How's it going? This default condition annoys me because I'm sure result is this, or this. Or null, but yeah. Okay, so now instead of doing this, can just do result dot fold coding. Yeah, exactly, coding makes everyone tired, and I'm an idiot that codes even more after work. So fold, in this case, to map the left, just to be obvious, we don't need this. Not implemented is also good. I don't really care in this case because it shouldn't happen. Okay, now this is annoying. Why don't you just replace this? So in this case, we just want value because it's always this. I don't know how everyone does it. Even when it fits in one line, that exception exists. Huh. When when the lambdas, even when they fit in one line, I normally put one in each line because it gets weird if it's in the same line, all this arrow stuff. Do you do something like this, or you don't care? CSS, HTML, PHP, and Unity. Ooh, Unity, nice. I only played with Unity once. We grabbed a clone. Ooh, let me check just this. But I was saying we grabbed a clone from Flappy Bird from the interwebs and connect to it, and then we played by jumping, and the thing would jump. It was interesting. Invalid enum argument exception. This is also interesting, although this isn't really an enum. Not that it matters a lot. I don't know, not implemented, invalid. Yeah, I'll left it like this for now. Okay, so this is done for now, at least until we figure out we need more stuff. So either, fold, it maps, we give it an either, we give it a mapper for the left side, which is always an error, and right, which is supposedly success. So then map it using C#8 stuff, pattern matching, switch expression with pattern matching, and then map just takes care of mapping this. So now if we go over here, let's see how we can do result dot map, and we would pass in I don't know what. No, that's the problem we had the other time, because we need async. Argument of the range is good. How to code the jump button in Unity. What do you mean? So this one, name of result. Probably won't finish things again this time. Okay, we need a map async. If input get key code space. Yeah, probably what we did at that time. Don't remember. It was some years ago. Task. Func of task. Wait. Okay, now we need... that's the problem with these things. We need to make variants of async and non-async stuff. Fold async. That gets a thing that does... task stuff, and then more task. Wait. Wait. And in this case, what do you think? Should I use the async suffix or not? The convention normally is to use it, but I don't know if then writing the code fold async just because we want async mappers is really that interesting. Right, just to be consistent. Fold async. Okay, so will it work now? Wait. Sync the thing. I'm pretty sure this is wrong, and I'm now remembering why we want flight map. Or maybe... okay, this is enough. So this is update group details. It's a good test to do. Let's run this again. See if it works as it should. Are we there yet? Not this browser. Where's the other browser? I keep editing this. It worked, I'm amazed. Okay, so did any of this make sense? All of this just to get rid of this if. So we can get rid of this to do and all of this. So even for people who are not familiar with functional programming, and I am not really that familiar, I have some ideas, but I don't usually work with it. But if you worked with Angular, and the Angular is very heavy on the how's it called? RxJS. and they make extensive use of things like that. Map, flat map, and all of this. Don't don't have those async variants, but the idea is exactly the same. So I can even do one better, which is, let's see if it works. Turn, wait. It does. Don't know if it's better, but just to show the point. So the idea here is just like in Rx, we chain the things. So instead of us doing, it's exactly the same thing we were doing with the maybe. So in some cases, in the previous episode, let me see if I have this here. Blog, codemulatia.com, optional stuff. So if you, probably some of you have seen this, others not, but the idea is instead of doing an if to check if the thing is there, we just do map. If the thing is there, we do something. If it's not, it short circuits automatically and moves on with its life. And this is exactly the same, but for errors and successes. So if group.rename, which returns error or unit is basically void. If returns unit, then map will be called with the unit value. So if when here, this is, if you check U is a unit, but we don't care about this. That's why I discarded. So we can do map async. If it was a success, then we do the update in the database, and then we return all good. If rename was an error, this isn't called, so it goes on. So, and this is where these kinds of things shine, because it really looks like RxJS or Link. We just call method, and it goes to the next one, unless something. For instance, in Link, when we do a select, in the select we don't worry about if there is some value in there or not. We just do select. If there is a value, we will map it. If there is no value, we do nothing. It's a no-op. It's the same logic. So yeah, and we could extend this to a lot. So like this, we could instead of doing this, I can show you an example from a talk I done. Let me go here. See if I go to the V2, because I've been playing around with these things. So we have two versions of this. So the original version looked like this code. So get something. In this case, the example was a supermarket cart. So I would go to the cart repository, get the value, go to the item repository, get the value for the item that we want to put in the cart, and then execute a bunch of stuff, one at each time. Get the rules, validate that the rules are good, then check if there was an error. If there wasn't, add item to cart. If add item to cart was an error, stop. Otherwise, continue, then save, publish a message saying things happened, and then return. So this is the typical C# way we are used to seeing things. But if we inspire ourselves in functional programming and in Link and RxJS, the exact same thing here would become this here. So just for simplicity, I kept the part from getting the items from the repository the same. But then as soon as I get the rules, you see that this is like link or rx. So rules validate. If it's good, add item to cart. In this case, it's a flat map instead of a map, because add item to cart returns a result, or returns that either stuff, or in this case a result. But we want to be not the result of result, but just a result. So we need to flat map, which is equivalent to links select many. We use select many link when we want to have a list and not a list of lists. So that's the same logic. We use flat map when we want to have a result and not a result of result. And then, in this case, do is just to do something that doesn't fail, or better yet, that we don't need the return type, the return object. So do, and what got in continues, and then do again with the cart item, which came from flat map, and then map. So the code like this ends up being really interesting. It's declarative. It's do this, then do that. If something fails along the way, just short circuit it till the end. We don't need to handle it, because if we needed to be doing ifs with errors and stuff all the time, it's probably not great. So this is where this kind of code shines. The problems with this code, sometimes it's harder. If you have already had some problems with link, you will know that sometimes it's harder to debug, because things happen in the middle of lambdas instead of in the common code. So it's a trade-off. But hopefully this part was clearer. Are you still there, Nuno? If you are, let me know if when you were saying that you are lost, if it made some sense. If not, I can try to improve the explanation, and it will be important because I'll write a post about this. It will be the number 38. Yes, it made sense? Nice. Hopefully. But for people who used Angular, I think when you look at this, you'll see it clicks. For people who never saw it, maybe my explanation wasn't the best, but at least for people who worked with Angular and stuff like that, it probably makes a click in this case. I'm still going to think if I want to use map async or just map, but for now, not important. And this is complaining because it is an allocation. Correct? Yes. I think instead of using the fold, I'm going to do something else. I'll see. Okay, but I think I'll wrap it up for this time. I thought I wouldn't be able to finish this today, but finished, which is nice. So I have more time to write the post and eventually record the video to go with that post. And then in the next episode, I don't know. I think what is planned for the next one, not this one, which will be this code that I will use, but for the 39, I think the idea is to use something that is normally called strongly typed IDs. So it's a way to avoid passing around integers and strings always as IDs, instead using something that like group ID in this case, something like that. Okay, but for this one I think that's it. If there are questions, let me know. Otherwise, you know the usual contacts, and next week, if nothing goes unexpected, there should be another stream. If there isn't a neighbor hammering on the wall like last week or something like that. Okay, all good. Thanks for stopping by. Hope to see you in the next one. See yous.